So Eric, take us back, man. Before real estate, what were you doing? Who was Eric Gedalje before now?
Yeah, and realistically, when you talk about this conversation, most people really don't have any idea. They don't even put two and two together, because what they see now is development, investments, big real estate team, 200 million in volume. But my story prior to real estate was actually quite challenging. So going all the way back to when I was 16 years old, I actually lived in Lake Havasu City completely on my own. And some might think, that's crazy, because I moved from Southern California, Lake Havasu, retirement town, older demographic. People are like, what are you doing there? But, my parents, were divorced multiple times. It was quite challenging, like I said, growing up. So I just decided that Havasu was going to be my oasis, my peace, not have to worry about, anything on the home front, because now I would just be responsible for myself. So 16 years old, I actually got a job at a local restaurant called Barley Brothers. And I started as a busboy, literally first job, just trying to figure out how to pay the bills, how to survive. And I picked up every shift. I even missed my high school graduation just to pick up a dinner shift because I was paying rent. I was living completely on my own, and progressed.
At 16 years old.
At 16. Yeah, I rented a little studio apartment here, and was completely on my own. And it was critical. It was essential to survive, and the only way to do that was to have a job that produced income for me. And it was at a restaurant, and it was being a busboy. And through that determination and that required commitment, I progressed through the scale, became a server, became a bartender, started hosting, and got into more of the managerial side, and was GM of the restaurant by the time I was 20. And I used to always remember there was a business in that strip of where the restaurant was located. And there was this guy that owned a beachwear shop. His name was Steve. The place was called Steve-O's. And he said, Eric, he's like, I see you working here all the time. Like, what's your story? He's like, honestly, I'm just, all I do is work. That's all I do. And he's like, you must have a pretty big savings established. And I said, well, I'm saving up, just not really sure like what the future entails. So he talks to me about real estate, and have you ever thought about investing in real estate? And I'm like, God, no. Like, I don't know anything about real estate. No one in my family has ever even owned a home. So he walked me through it and basically said, look, give me $20,000. I'll invest it in a spec home that I'm doing, and in return, I'll pay you 10% on that $20,000. I said, well, is it guaranteed? Like, am I going to get that money back? Like, I need that money. I have to have it. There's no one else in my life. And he's like, well, no, it's not guaranteed, but here's the data. This is everything that I've done in the past 4 years, and I would love to help you out. And I really still internally didn't know if it was the right decision, but I did it. 6 months later, that 20,000 turned into 22,000. And from there, I was hooked. Met with a local team, a local brokerage, Keller Williams here in Lake Havasu, met with a team leader, and I was in real estate school that Monday. Wow. So that's kind of where phase two of Eric Gedalje starts, but that was prior to real estate.
Very cool. So you jump all into real estate, you get into school, and are you just, did you have any vision of what the future was going to hold, or were you just kind of fumbling your way through?
I still remember I took a class my first couple months in called Bold. And I remember just like everyone was kind of hearing about my story. I was progressing very quickly my first few months into real estate. And I was talking with everyone in Bold. Do I quit my job? Like, do I go into real estate full time? Like, is I don't know what to do. Like, I'm doing well. I already have 4 pending. I've closed 1, and I think I'm going to be putting in a few more in escrow. Like, this was like life changing for me. Like, this could either go really bad or not. So I ended up quitting Barley Brothers, the restaurant, and got into real estate full bore. And my first year at Keller Williams, I was actually the Southwest Regional Rookie of the Year award. So, I guess it's probably safe to say that from there it was the right decision. So it was incredibly risky and nerve-wracking, but as working in the restaurant, I had no choice but to succeed. And to succeed in real estate in a market that has over 800 agents, you have to have an unmatched and unparalleled commitment. And I think I just organically grew that internal independence because I had no choice. I had to have that internal flame stay lit in order to be, successful in real estate. And I think that just kind of comes through some of my challenges in my childhood and growing up as far as what was going on.
Eric, I think there's a lot of agents that can really relate to what you're saying right now as far as making the leap to be full-time. And even for the leadership listening to the call, they have agents who are wondering the same thing. I'm curious to know, looking back now in hindsight, what do you think the decision point was that gave you the confidence or the courage to make the leap to then domino effect into being the Rookie of the Year? Because that's obviously a pretty incredible achievement.
Yeah, and it's a question that I still get asked to this day, because there's people right now that are actually, deliberating that exact same question. And I don't know if I can actually take it to a specific moment. I think that bottom line, if you execute and commit in real estate like your life depends on it, there's no way that you're not going to be successful. So I think that as an agent, if you're ready to make that commitment, and you're going to act in real estate like your life depends on it, like mine did, there's no way that you're not going to be successful. And I think the only person that will know that for team leaders or for agents is going to be that person, that specific agent. So that's how I would answer that.
You mentioned the word commitment a couple times, and the first time you used it, you even said unparalleled commitment. When you're thinking about that, I mean, now you get to identify, agents and bring agents into your world. Like, what does unparalleled commitment actually look like to you? How would you define that?
It's a situation or scenario. I guess, we look at our marketplace here, and there's agents of all kinds and sorts. Agents that do this part-time, agents that get into real estate thinking that it's some fancy show that looks cool with all kinds of fancy social media. But to be committed in an unparalleled fashion, that means that there's an array of activities that are required to be successful in real estate. And it starts from your typical mechanics to the time of hours that you're putting in on a weekly basis, to the resources that you're taking advantage of if you're on a team. So there's so many different things that you have to stay committed to. So I don't know if it's like actually commitment. I would say it's more like the activities that you're committing to on a daily basis. You have to be committed at the highest level to those activities to stay successful and to be successful. And I think that's a big thing that really has set our group apart, is that our groups are so similar in orientation that we really feed off of that chemistry and we feed off of that ethos. I have agents that are 22 years old and I have agents that are over 60 years old. But when I look and when I talk to any new incoming agent or an agent that I already have, they are just as committed as I am in that unparalleled fashion. And that just means they're taking advantage of the resources. It is full-time. It's not just your typical real estate agent that, is just doing it for the fancy show or thinks that it's pretty on the outside, but really on the inside, it takes an incredible amount of grit and work ethic to be successful in this industry, in my opinion.
And when we add up all these individuals, what we really are talking about at some point is culture. You're creating a culture, a specific environment where everybody is in alignment with work ethic. And I'm curious to know if you've experienced anybody that maybe was not in alignment with culture and how you dealt with that. And on the other side of the coin, what are you doing to naturally attract people like you to your organization?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you asked that too, because I would really like to see other team leaders throughout the country replicate our model in their marketplaces, because what we've done from the leadership level is we've gone all in on the resources category. I mean, all in. And when you have an agent that is somewhat of a self-starter, that's somewhat of an independent success, typically those agents aren't going to want to join a team. So how do you provide value for those already successful agents that are doing well in their marketplace? And the resources that we brought onto our team to provide to our agents really just act as an enhancement to their business, to their already successful business. So the way I attract is by coming in with heavy resources, not just tech, not just your realtor.com or your Zillow Flex leads or your HomeLight leads, or we're already doing all that. So we'll get into this, but the developments that I've personally created with my own capital give us the opportunity to exclusively represent multiple developments throughout town, which mean more listings for my agents, which means more buyers for our agents. And by creating those opportunities in the development world, it's acted as a huge value add to our agents. So how do you create developments? How do you exclusively represent developments? We'll be able to get through that, and I'd love to share some of the details. But to really hone in, it's by being able to just add high level resources to our agents. So that way, independent and successful agents have value and motivation to join a team. And that's how we'll do 200 million this year.
That's incredible. So, all right. So there's obviously somewhat of a gap between getting into the business, rookie of the year, and 200 million dealing in development. And I want to know what happened kind of in the intervening year. I mean, it wasn't that many years. I mean, we're only talking a span of what, maybe 4 or 5 years?
Yeah. I mean, I got my license in late 2016, and I really consider day one, like, first week into January of 2017. So the growth year over year really starts January 2017, where we're at right now, going into January 2022. So we're basically approaching the 6-year mark. And it was funny. I was talking with one of my staff members, and she sent me a graphic, and I remember just a highlight of my life and career. In 2018, summer of 2018, our group in July, I think it was July or it was August, we were at 7.8 million in sales for the year. This year, we're going to close 200 million to give you that perspective. But for 2018, we ended up closing 2018 just over 25 million in sales. And at that time, that was huge for our group. I mean, our group was founded in 2016. So year one for us was 2017. And I can tell you that year over year, we've grown exponentially. So what that journey really has looked like kind of starts with me partnering up with with someone named Kathy, who is one of my partners in business. Her husband is Bob Janecek, a big builder here in Lake Havasu. And we had the opportunity to exclusively represent Janecek Homes in Lake Havasu City. And what that did was really catapult our sales and volume. So 7.8 million in July of 2018 ended up turning into 30 million in sales in August of 2019. And with that growth in sales volume created more commission income for me, of which I reinvested back into my marketplace, which has in effect created more opportunities for my agents. So 40 million, I brought the numbers with me. In 2018, we were at that 26 million mark. 2019, we actually got up to 76 million in sales. 2020, last year, 137 million in sales. 2021, we're projected to be at 198 million, just under 200 million in sales. So you can see how that unparalleled commitment has stayed consistent, because I have stayed disciplined to reinvest the leadership income back into the marketplace. And it shows by our numbers. We don't get to that number by just selling resale units in town. It's the storage space, it's the new construction space, it's the singular spec space, and it's the, it's the communities now. Today, we're under management and in representation 6 different developments.
Wow. So I want to ask you this, Eric. Then there's a lot of agents who are like, okay, so Eric went and he partnered with a big builder. Whoa, how in the world do I do that? And you mentioned your business partner, Kathy. This is her husband. So I think a lot of people ask the question, okay, what value did Eric bring to the table such that they need Eric, right? And how do I go approach a builder such that they need me? What would you say to someone trying to do that same thing in their market with a big builder?
Yeah, I mean, David, you're completely right. And the builder should ask that question, like, why this person? Like, Kathy could handle the sales completely on her own. Bob's her husband. Why bring in someone else? And I think that comes down to coming to the table, not just with a proposal, a proposition, or coming in with a successful track record. I think you really need to look at what you specifically do as an agent that sets you apart from the masses. And even though you could win Rookie of the Year, you could be successful, builders, developers, they don't care about that. They care about how are you going to benefit them personally. That's what they care about. And for me specifically, in regards to Janecek Homes, I think it was just an internal connection that they felt, where they knew, humbly speaking, I wasn't just going to be successful, I was going to exceed the span of Janecek Homes. And they wanted to have a piece of that. And the way I was able to really demonstrate that to the builder was by bringing them their first. Janecek Homes had never done a development in mass quantity. There was a piece of property for sale, 50.6 acres, called the Villas at the Foothills. I personally brought in 44% of the capital required to take down that parcel. Now, I didn't do it on my own. At that time, I was 24 years old. I didn't have the capital on my own. So I brought them value, not just in words or in paper, but I literally brought them a development, got them out of their comfort zone to be willing to make that commitment on their own, because they had to come in with capital too. But it was 30 years of building single spec homes. So at their stage in their career, why would they want to get involved in something like that? What they were doing was working perfectly. But I literally brought them a development, and I brought in 44% of the capital required so that they could literally be the exclusive builder in the villas at the Foothills, of which now we're sitting in this development today, 163 houses they have the exclusive build on from January 2018 to right now. They're about ready to open up the last phase here in February. So I guess long-windedly, what are you going to bring to a builder? What value are you going to add to a builder that makes them want to partner with you? And for me, it was bringing them a development.
Well, I love exactly what you said right there about pushing them outside of their comfort zone. Here they are, these experienced, seasoned builders that have been doing it for a lifetime. You're a 24-year-old guy, been in real estate for a couple of years, and you're pushing them outside of their comfort zone, which is, the hidden message there is, number one, don't let your age or perceived lack of experience prevent you from going after big fish, because look at what you're doing now. It's incredible. And my follow-up question is, obviously, this relationship with Kathy and Bob was a domino in a series of dominoes. I'm wondering how that relationship specifically then opened up. How did you capitalize on opening all the other doors thereafter?
Yeah, you extracted it absolutely perfectly. And to get them out of their comfort zone was not an easy task. And I can tell you, Bob specifically, a 30-year builder here in Lake Havasu, little difficult personality. It was, I could tell you, I probably had 26 no's before I got the actual yes that we're going to take down the villas. And, so it wasn't a huge offering that they were so grateful for at the time being. Really, they probably couldn't even conceptualize what the opportunity even really meant.
Right.
But now, obviously, eternal gratitude on their part. But, when you look at Janecek Homes specifically, this specific builder built more of the custom higher end homes in town. And with that, you get a different demographic of clientele. And through that, there were multiple relationships conceived through that partnership. So it was utilizing the relationships of people that they were building homes for, of which I wasn't even getting paid on. Those weren't commissions paid out to me. Those were builder to client directs. I wasn't getting anything. But being in that space, them seeing my commitment, seeing how I dressed, how I acted, how I spoke, they took an interest. So who are you? And by that time, things were really starting to progress for me, really staying disciplined within the allocated savings of my GCI to reinvest back into the market. And the next gentleman that comes to mind, his name is Steve Clark. And Steve was a gentleman out of Southern California, just recently sold his aerospace company for almost $60 million. Never made a real estate investment in his life, contracted Janecek Homes to build him a beautiful house. But I said, Steve, have you ever thought about investing into the real estate market? He's like, well, no, not at all. But, a deal pencils, bring it to me. Let's see what we can make happen. 38 acres up here in the foothills called the Enclaves, 38 acres, 30 custom 1 to 2 acre sites. I put him in contact with the right people, because mind you, I'm not a project manager. I'm not a civil engineer. I'm a real estate agent / developer, but I wanted this to come together. So for him to write a check for $2.5 million for those 38 acres, I had to take initiative. I had to summon a civil engineer. I had to summon a land management company. I had to summon a surveyor, a land architect. And I did. I got them all in a room. We got them all together. And through that extra effort and that extra diligence and initiative, really all he needed to see were the numbers. Did the deal make sense? And we were literally in escrow 48 hours later. A development for my team. Again, just through acting, through effort. So that it goes on and on. 2 more gentlemen that I met, Brian, Steve, partnered with them, and we're now going to be on the second phase of our commercial storage space. 46 units in the first phase, 29 units in the second phase. An unbelievable opportunity for, again, myself and my team. So it was just utilizing those relationships.
You use the word initiative there, and I think listeners need to be picking up on that this stuff doesn't just magically happen out of thin air. It takes initiative, right? You even use the word summon. Like I had to summon the land management company. I had to summon the other person, right? You sound like a king, Eric. But you're right. You need to take that initiative, and I think that's the unparalleled commitment that perhaps someone like you and other top performers have. They don't just see a piece of land and then let it die on the vine. They see a piece of land that could be turned into something. And what I love is that you keep bringing it back to your team. Like, I'm going to reallocate a percentage of my gross commission income, the money that I've worked hard to make, so that I can open up more opportunities for the people around me. Because when I do that, we all win. There's not enough resale right now, right? And I think a lot of people just look and go, well, there's not enough inventory. And they just they're okay with just being a product of the market cycle that they're in, as opposed to someone with a different mindset who says, no, let's go out there and push the envelope. Let's create the market cycle that's coming. Right. And would you say you're just wired as a visionary, or has this been something that's been developed in you? Like, where does this come from?
My wiring is probably classified as an unhealthy obsession. And when you mentioned initiative, as far as, what I really did to make that development a reality, and I'm going to use the word obsessed again. It really is obsessed initiative that has not only set myself apart from the market, but it's set my team apart from the market. And when you can, in a healthy manner, obsess about taking initiative, and it's so people say, yeah, I'll take the initiative, but actually act and apply initiative. Again, I'm going to go back to what I said initially, like your life depended on it. The abundance of what organically happens around you is absolutely incredible. And it's like sending out a listing, or anyone can send out a listing. Anyone can send a 50-acre land listing to a potential developer. But how do you actually bring that to life? Do you offer maybe coming in with your own skin in the game? Wow, I've never heard of that. Like, all these agents just want to try to sell me developments. They want to sell me property. Like, set yourself apart. Really bring in capital for the developer to make his capital expenditure a little bit lower. Put the team together around the developer space so that they feel comfortable and feel like you're actually invested in the project with them, that they have a partner. So it really is initiative, David. And when you can apply initiative at a high level, whether you're working with a buyer looking at a $300,000 home, or potentially a developer looking to take down a mass acre parcel, it's pretty amazing what can happen, really.
I want to ask you a little bit about mindset, Eric. We're sort of talking about it, but I imagine that having the confidence to take on these projects and to carry yourself the way you do, there had to have been a lot of internal growth that has happened over the last several years, especially. Talk to us a little bit about how you feed your mind, what you feed your mind, and what you're telling yourself to open up the door of possibility to have these conversations and to create these relationships.
Yeah, mindset has to be incredibly sharp to continue, what we kind of have right now under management, in development, in escrow. And for me, it really comes down to my mindset really being set by the people that I'm surrounding myself with. And there really is no margin of error. I'm 29 years old. I can tell you the average age of people that I hang out with, or that I have to hang out with, that I surround myself with, is twice my age. And through that has created a maturity, a soul that is old beyond years. And I'm setting my mindset. I don't do anything specifically in the morning. There's no meditation. My reading is lighter than it probably should be, but my mindset really is set by the people that I'm surrounded with. And it's a requirement to have the mind stay in acceleration mode consistently and constantly when you're around people that have a high bar. And when I say high bar, I don't mean in wealth, I mean in expectation. So I'm constantly surrounded by people that have a high expectation of me.
I love the way you said that.
Yeah, I mean, being around people, I was just in conversation with someone who literally said, hey, I'm going to move on from this. I just can't run as fast as the people that I'm with. And, I think sometimes, leaders would lower the bar so that person could, oh, come on, stay with me, whatever. But I respect the people who are like, no, this is the bar. This is the speed. And it's okay if you can't run at this speed. But this is the speed we're going.
Just may not be with us.
It's the high expectation. And to have those expectations and hold those standards at a really high level, that has kept your mind sharp, will keep your mind sharp, and it opens up more abundance for everyone around you. So I want to see if I kind of want to break down development a little bit, because it's really a topic that we've not approached a lot on our show. And I know that there's some people that are interested in it. So when you look at a piece of raw land, Eric, bring us through the thought process of okay, what happens with this raw land? If I've never done anything, I've never approached a developer, what are the A to Z, the building blocks of here's a piece of land, let's do something with it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, now it's almost scary, being in my own body, looking at, a new development that could potentially be an option. And right away I go off, okay, what does the water, sewer, dry utilities look like? What are we looking at for engineering? So, it really has become almost a second language for me. But ultimately, we could just use this project, for example, the villas at the foothills, a 50.6 acre parcel. You as a real estate agent attempting to potentially procure a development that you bring in a developer, or you potentially work on it yourself, forming your own partnership, you have to know your marketplace. Before I even look at the mechanics, I have to make sure that the development can be successful once it is completely improved. So how do I do that? The first thing we do is we really evaluate listing price. And we're going to use the villas, for example, the list price, $3.5 million. Now, the listing agent did his homework. So he had a pro forma already set up for me. With 50.6 acres, he was able to tell me that after it was mass graded, subdivided, and improved, I know that development was going to yield 183 units. So at 183 units, what is my cost basis per lot to know that the development can work? So to do that, you have to find your cost. So 3.5 million. Obviously, we know, I shouldn't say obviously, unfortunately, that's not going to be our end cost. So what we do is we have to figure out what are the improvements going to cost. And that's where we go back to surrounding yourself with talent. So what do I need to bring in? I need to bring in a civil engineer. I need to bring in a mass grader, a grading company, someone that's going to help us grade 50.6 acres. I need to bring in an underground offsite specialist, someone that's going to install our water, someone that's going to install our sewer. We need to bring in a civil engineer. At some point, 183 families are going to be living in this community. So we need to make sure the development is protected, it's engineered, water flows properly after heavy weather, the integrity of the soil, etc. So the civil engineer plays a massive part in land development. So to recap so far, we have someone that's going to handle the grading, someone that's going to handle the water, someone that's going to handle the sewer. Now, let's be realistic. No matter how experienced you are as a real estate agent, as an entrepreneur, as a land developer, there's no way that you're going to manage this yourself. Who's going to double check the bills? Who's going to hold accountable the subcontractors for the timelines? So it's absolutely essential that you have a land management company of whom underneath them has superintendents, assistants, as well as accountants. Don't want to get too technical with the details, but you can probably guess that all of that taken into account, in addition to the 3.5 million raw acquisition, I can tell you just from experience, is probably going to be really close to just as much as the original land acquisition at 3.5 million. So we'll use 3 million in improvements in addition to the 3.5. So our cost basis is now 6.5 million. Now, mind you, for those who are listening out there, those items that I went through, that's me, but your core. There's a lot more that goes into it. But just for time and simple math, our 6.5 million, we divide that by 183 units because the listing agent was awesome. They did their homework. They represented their seller properly. So they had a pro forma ready for me and my developer to review. So at the 6.5 million divided by 183 units, our cost per lot is $35,519. Now that's just our cost of the lots. And since we're a listing agent, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, now we have to talk about building the house.
We have to talk about building the house because this specific community is a lot plus home package community. There are land developments out there where the developer will just sell you your lot, go pick your builder, see you later. But in this case, we had brought that opportunity to Janecek Homes, remember? That was big value add for them to have the exclusive build on 100 properties. So in addition to that, though, really quick, we remember we're a good listing agent. We're providing the total picture. We're a good partner to our developer. He's trusting us to buy this property. He also is going to have escrow fees. He's going to have commission fees. You're the agent that brought him the deal. You're going to get the exclusive on all 183 sales. So per lot, your cost now is probably around the $40,000 mark. I know my marketplace really well because I study it. I obsess over it. And I can tell you that the fair market value for those 183 lots is probably just under $90,000. So what does that mean for the developer? It's a double play. So how does he turn that down? He doesn't. I've done all the homework. I've helped him achieve his cost basis. I've helped him analyze his projected profit. I've gone extremely over, above, and beyond as a real estate agent. I've literally made this bulletproof. I've even helped him bring in capital to achieve the total 6.5 million lot plus improvement cost basis. I'm a star. How does he say no to that?
Talk about initiative.
Yeah, there we go. Well, and I love how you really packaged all of that together and did the math there. And it was all under the heading really of know your market. Like when you get to that bottom line, you need to know where does this stand in relation to the average lot in my area, such that I can then approach the developer and say, this is where the value play is. This is why it's a good deal. How can you turn this down? Right? That was the clincher.
Absolutely. Because ultimately $6.5 million is a lot of money. So like when we talk about conceptualizing the reality of a developer having 6.5 million, there's people out there. But for someone maybe just getting into development or someone that's maybe has one or two under their belt, 6.5 million is a lot of money. So how do you make that a reality? There's things that you can explore to help that developer. Don't put it on them to go figure out how to find that capital. Partner with them. Go to the banks together. Explore hard money together. Come in with money yourself. Show that commitment And I think that's where we talk about like really, like anyone can talk about doing development, but how do you make it a reality for yourself as an agent that wants to get into representing developments, as an agent that's successful that wants to get into development themselves, but, needs a bigger partner. I think that, again, I hate to say it for the fourth time, but it just goes back to what are you doing over and above to make this even a reality? I wanted it to be a reality. I wanted 183 listings for my team.
Yeah, I love it, man. And we could probably talk about this for another like 4 episodes because it's been really educational, even in the few minutes that we've dove in. But for sake of time, I want to respect your time as well. I want to dive into the last segment of our show, which is 3, 2, 1 action. It's the same 3 questions we ask every guest. And are you ready, man? Let's dive into this. You're on the hot seat.
Let's do it.
All right. Question number 1.
Here we go. Who is the one person who has had the biggest influence on your business and why?
Oh man. Okay. This is a loaded question, and I gotta make sure the politics are correct. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings because I've had so many mentors throughout the course of my career. But I have to say, without a shadow of a doubt, my wife has absolutely had the biggest impact on my career. And the reason for that is she really came into picture early in my real estate career, year 1.5. And the obsession that we talked about earlier, she has undoubtedly helped me maintain somewhat of a balance. And if I didn't have that balance, I'm not exactly sure where I would be right now. So I love her to death, and she's been the absolute biggest impact on my career.
Caitlin must be in the room. No.
That was the right answer.
Good answer. Question number 2. So you said your reading might be a little bit light, and that's okay. But if you had to choose, what's been the most influential book on your business, and why?
And for me, it's a lot of raw mechanics. It's a lot of effort-based action. And I'm sure everyone's probably read this book. It's not a sleeper. Everyone knows it. It's 10X by Grant Cardone. And for me, it really just comes back to effort. 10X your activity, just 10X yourself as an individual, and you're bound to have some additional success to what you're doing right now. Just more effort. 10X.
So great book, and you might know Grant's opening up his new headquarters like here in Scottsdale, and I just heard about the open house. So you're gonna have to come down and join us for the open house of his new his headquarters. All right?
Absolutely, gonna try to make it.
All right, third question, Eric. As you know, this is the All In podcast where we encourage our listeners to take what they've heard here today and to go do something with it. So what is one action item the listeners can take leaving here today if they want to begin or double down on their ability to work with builders and consider development deals?
Yeah, that was my goal coming into your guys' podcast, which I love so much, is to come in and provide something that they can take with them and apply to their own marketplace. And I think you just really have to figure out how to set yourself apart. What can you bring to your client or to your potential builder, developer, investor that the rest of the million agents in the country can't do? So I think, ultimately for me, it was bringing my builder a development, but it doesn't need to be that grand. It doesn't need to be that big. But ultimately, how you set yourself apart from the masses, whether that's in effort, it's effort in addition to marketing, it's your marketing as a listing agent. It just comes down to, again, how you really set yourself apart from an effort and initiative level, in my opinion.
Well, I know everyone's going to find a lot of value in this, Eric, and they're probably going to want to connect with you. Is there a place that you could direct people to? Where can they find more of your content?
Yeah, so definitely pretty active on social media. For Instagram, it's at Eric Gedalje, the most complicated last name in the world. But I'm sure the spelling, you guys will find it. It's at Eric Gedalje, and then for Facebook, Eric Gedalje. So those 2 social media platforms are a good place to start.
Love it. Well, Eric, I'm excited to continue to see your journey and watch you go from 200 million and bust through 3 and 4 and 500 million. It's just around the corner. Thanks for spending some time with Joe and I. Absolutely loved it, and we'll connect soon.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I absolutely love what you two are doing. Thanks again for having me.
Guys, this has been another episode of the All In Podcast. As always, go play all in.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the All In Podcast. We want to invite you to find all of today's resources from our show page at aipodcast.co. We also ask that you take just 1 minute to leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. This is how we grow and how we're able to bring you the best content each and every week. Now go play all in.